So I bought the new Phantom Elixir because I do enjoy the previous Phantoms and I'm hoping it will be another good one in the line. Some of the notes in Phantom Elixir are C notes at the top, then we have mineral notes and oud at the heart of it, and then we have vanilla bean at the base. So like always, let's see what it smells like up in the air. Okay, definitely a bit different compared to the previous ones. And almost like a mix of something slightly fresh, but not overly fresh, and something slightly woody. So up in the air, interesting, but it didn't blow me away in any way, but let's try it on skin as well. Okay, definitely a bit easier to pick out on that freshness on skin. This opens up with a bit of freshness, and the freshness is definitely leaning more towards something that is more sort of aquatic or marine fresh, and there's definitely a bit of sort of saltiness to its aquatic freshness in the opening. And even though the oud is listed as a heart note, I can pick up on its woodiness pretty much right in the opening. So an interesting opening for sure, but at least based on these first few sprays, there's nothing in the opening that sort of a pop, so that grabs my attention and that sort of it blows me away. So yeah, aquatic freshness, it smells good and it has a bit of woodiness to it, but I don't think it blows me away, at least in the opening. The more Phantom Elixir heads into the mids, the more prominent that oud gets. So this turns into something that, at least to my nose and at least based on this first impression, is quite oudy and woody in the mids, together with a bit of that aquatic freshness from the opening. However, I do feel that the aquatic freshness of it gets softer, even though that sort of a saltiness that I picked up in the opening is still present in the mids. But this basically in the mids is mostly an oudy scent with a bit of aquatic freshness and a bit of saltiness to it. Now, when it comes to oud, there are so many different kinds of ouds. Funky ouds, really sort of a dirty, heavy, deep ouds, and more sort of a soft and easier, or sort of a more mass appealing, easier to wear and more mass appealing kinds of ouds. This definitely falls into the sort of a designery, more mass appealing kind of oud. Once again, much like in the opening, I find it an interesting scent. But at least based on my first impression and these first few sprays, this doesn't blow me away, at least currently. Let's wait a bit to the dry down. So finally, the dry down is to me a mix of vanilla and that oud. So it's almost like the oud of it is almost like an extension of what I felt in the mids. This has the same sort of a soft, more on the mass appealing leaning kind of oud. The vanilla brings it a bit of warmth and sweetness. The freshness of it is pretty much gone in the dry down, even though I'm getting a slight hint of that saltiness in the dry down. So Phantom Elixir is definitely an interesting scent, and definitely quite different compared to the other three, and I'm gonna try and give you like a quick comparison of them all. I really feel that Phantom Elixir is quite different compared to these three. One thing they all have in common is the vanilla, which is present in all of these. Phantom EDT has a different fresh opening, it's more sweet and has a different dry down that's a mix of vanilla and earthiness. Elixir is not earthy. Phantom Parfum is spicy and aromatic in the opening with lavender and cardamom, so a different kind of freshness with a dry down that's woody in a different way with a bit of sweetness and vanilla. Phantom Intense takes the heart of Phantom Parfum but goes in a more fresh direction with a focus on freshness and vanilla, and it stays lighter and fresher for longer compared to the others. Drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments if you would like me to do a full comparison of Phantom Elixir and the other three. So here are my initial thoughts on the vibe of Phantom Elixir. The oud of it does give it slightly sort of a mysterious and sexy vibe, but at the same time also a bit of elegance. So something sort of mysterious with a bit of sexiness to it, but also a bit of elegance. So here are my initial thoughts on compliments and mass appeal. Even though Phantom Elixir does have a mass appealing dose of oud together with quite a likable dose of vanilla, this isn't as mass appealing as the previous three. And I know I'm gonna get someone in the comments saying that this is definitely more mass appealing than this. This gets too much hate, by the way. This is a fantastic compliment getter and actually a very likable kind of scent. And I do feel that all of the other ones are more mass appealing and more complicated kind of sense than this. This, however, for what it is, which is basically oud together with vanilla, is quite mass appealing, even though this is definitely not the most mass appealing kind of scent there is, and I do feel it's not as mass appealing as the other three. And when it comes to performance, I really do need to wear this more. But based on how it oozes from my skin and how it stays around me, I can definitely feel it around me, and it oozes quite strongly from my skin. So Phantom Elixir is definitely not a weak fragrance. So here are my initial thoughts on usage. So like seasons and occasions, yes, this is oud. But once again, I don't feel this is heavy or too intense or too funky or too dirty or whatever kind of oud. This is quite a light and mass appealing kind of oud together with sort of a slightly warm vanilla. But nothing in this is too heavy or too intense in any way. And I don't feel this is a fragrance with a lot of depth to it. So this is definitely, Phantom Elixir is definitely a fragrance I feel you can use throughout the year, but with a focus on spring, fall and winter. When it comes to occasions, even though I do feel this is more of a mass appealing oud, I do feel this leans more towards something you spray on when you're going out for special occasions or when you are going on a date. I don't think this is perhaps the best fragrance you spray on if you're going to school or work. And the freshness it has, at least to me, is not enough for me to want to reach for this when going to the gym. So who's Phantom Elixir for? I think number one, the sort of a baseline here is that you should know that you enjoy the scent of oud. Even though I do feel this is more of a mass appealing oud, this is still an oudy and woody scent. You should also enjoy the scent of vanilla, because this is basically vanilla together with that sort of a mass appealing oud. Definitely stay away if you do not enjoy oud or vanilla. And do not buy this thinking that its freshness, that sort of a marine or aquatic freshness, is going to be something that is super intense, because this, when it dries down, basically becomes a mix of vanilla and oud. And I also do not think you should be buying Phantom Elixir, even though you might absolutely love the other ones, because this is quite different compared to the other ones. So what are some of the alternatives to Phantom Elixir looking within the line? Number one, please do check out my comparison and battle between the OG and the Parfum. I really enjoy both of them. I'm gonna link to that comparison above, so feel free to check it out. Another alternative could be Phantom Intense. This is sort of in a nutshell, a mix of aromatic freshness, that's sort of a Phantom signature vanilla, together with soft woodiness. Another fragrance I thought of when I put my nose to this was Armani's fantastic Stronger With You Oud. Stronger With You Oud is basically a mix of that sort of a signature Armani Stronger With You vanilla, together with a dose of lavender and quite a prominent dose of oud. Much like Phantom Elixir, the oud in Stronger With You Oud is more of the mass appealing kind. I think this is a fantastic scent. These two are definitely not the same, but I thought of Stronger With You Oud when I put my nose to this. Another fragrance I thought of when I put my nose to Phantom Elixir is Tom Ford's Oud Mineral. These two are so different, and Oud Mineral is definitely something you should not blind buy. However, I think this is a really cool mix of sort of aquatic freshness and oud. And this also has quite a noticeable dose of saltiness. And that's pretty much the main reason why I thought of this. However, the oud in Oud Mineral is definitely has more personality, depth and richness to it. So here are my final thoughts on Phantom Elixir based on my first impressions of it. The freshness it has doesn't have enough pop to it, so yeah, it gives me a bit of freshness, but I don't consider this to be a fresh fragrance. The oud in it is a very mass appealing dose of oud, and I do enjoy those kinds of ouds. However, it feels like the oud is, even though it's prominent, doesn't have enough sort of a personality to it. And the vanilla in it basically grounds the whole thing, giving it a bit of warmth, adds more mass appeal to it, and makes it a very likable oud scent. So Phantom Elixir does smell good. There's absolutely nothing bad about this fragrance, at least as long as if you love the combo of oud and vanilla. But I do not feel this is a masterpiece. This doesn't blow me away, and I actually bought the 100ml by mistake. I thought I was putting in an order for the same size as these. Unfortunately, that's what happened. So yeah, there you go. Good, but not great. And this is now the, what is it? The third fragrance of 2025 that I think is good but not great. So I'm definitely hoping for more impressive scents to come. Make sure you check out my other videos about the other Phantom fragrances. Now I would absolutely love to know how you feel about Phantom Elixir. Does it blow you away? Do you think this is a masterpiece? Do you think sort of like I do, in that this smells good but it's not something that blows you away? Or do you dislike it? Make sure you put that in the comments